Hey everybody, I got my program working again, and here we go with another uh, video by your instructor, which you probably think, oh my god, what am I doing? Okay, this week you're writing an essay. Excuse me, too early in the morning. Essays have an introduction, at least 3 body paragraphs that are PIE paragraphs, and then a conclusion. The introduction was just probably the last thing you should write. Is basically a twisted up PIE paragraph. You start with something that, an E that explains what the book is, an I that gives a brief illustration, and then your P, which is your thesis statement. The first thing you need to come up with is your thesis statement, and it'll be taken from last week's writing. And I mentioned to some of you where you might be able to find a thesis from your writing last week. So you're going to begin by explaining the context of your thesis, that is a mini summary of hillbillyology that's relevant to your thesis. So you would say, in Hillbillyology by J.D. Vance, comma, and then you explain a little bit about the part of the book. Vance and his mother had a horrible relationship as evidenced by blah, 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 and then lead to your thesis. So it's a backwards P. It's the last thing you should write, but you should have the P before you do anything. Oops. So you have to write your P, and then you have to have 3 paragraphs that PIE paragraphs that support the thesis. One paragraph will have an example from Hillbillyology. One paragraph will have an example from research that ties to your thesis. And you'll have 1 to 3 more paragraphs that are either examples from the book or the research. You may have up to 3 P paragraphs. I know the standard essay has 3, but you may have up to 5. I think I said 3 before. You may have up to 5. In fact, any essay format you can use. You can have the introduction, as many P paragraphs as you want, and then a conclusion. What you do in the conclusion is you restate the thesis, summarize. It's a PIE paragraph. You restate the thesis, you summarize your evidence, and then you leave your readers with a concluding thought. What's your process to do this, to create that essay I just talked about? First, you find your thesis. And as I said, you find the thesis from the writing you did on the discussion board last week. Then you have to research, and you must research on point. So be sure you're thinking about what your P means and keywords that would affect your P or your thesis. And then you complete 5 research summaries, templates, so that you have a good record of what you have found. Now, all these things you find must be on point. You may read 10, 12, 20 articles, and most of them may be off point. You don't want those. You want ones that are on point, that you think that can help find this thesis. Once you have your research done, then you have your P, and then you write your PI paragraphs. And then you go back and write your introduction and your conclusion. Remember, you only had the P before. Write your intro last, write your conclusion right after that, or before that, and you'll have a complete draft. You may have more than 3 P paragraphs. You may need up to 5. So what you're going to write is an introduction, even though you'll only have your P first, and you'll write it last. So you have your introduction, 3 paragraphs and a conclusion. You are going to need to refer to the links I've given you to write this in proper MLA format and with a complete works cited page. Where the assignment goes, the essay goes on the discussion board. That's your your discussion on your essay on the discussion board. That's your introduction, your paragraphs that support it, and your conclusion. Remember, your introduction has your P, your thesis in this case. You write that last. And then you write your P paragraphs first, your conclusion, and then your intro. That goes on the discussion board. Then the research summaries go in the Dropbox, just for me to see. Your classmates don't need to comb all through that. Now, all these things that you're doing this week, you've done before when we wrote our paragraph. Came up with a P. You did research. You submitted 3 research summaries on the discussion board, and then you wrote your paragraph. For your essay, you're going to do the same thing. You're going to write an essay, which is really a huge P, a P, I, and an E, which is your P is your introduction, your I's are your paragraphs, and your E is your conclusion. You're basically writing a great big P. Remember to have this in MLA format, okay? And I believe I'm sorry, I lost my thought. I believe somewhere in the past I've given you links to MLA format. I haven't this week. I will add those in. But it is essential you have MLA format. Very essential. Let me show you the first thing to do when you have MLA format. Oh, God, I hate these things, don't you? The first thing you do is you go up to where they have line spacing. It's going to be different on, excuse me, that's not it. This is it, on line spacing, and you go to 2.0. You're never, ever, ever going to have to use return except at the end of the paragraph. Then you go up to your header. I just double-clicked. Oops. And you're going to go to Element Documents or whatever it is on your computer. I believe it's Element, or maybe it's Layout. I never can remember. And you want to make sure your margins are 1 point. And you want to add page numbers, not line numbers. I guess it's document, header and footer. You want page numbers, but you want that on that side. Before the page number, you're going to type your last name. Put a space between that. Then you're going to come back to your document. You're going to put your header, which is your name, my name, class name, and then this is the tricky part. You write your just leave this alone. You find your you write your date backwards from what we normally do. Click once. You want to go to center and you put your title. Click once and you want to go back to spacing over here. You tab for your first paragraph and you start your introduction. when you're done with your introduction, and you just keep typing, no, don't put anything at the end of the line. Notice I'm putting the title of the book in italics, putting the full name of the author. Okay? When you end the introduction, you space once, tab, and then start the PIE paragraphs. Did you notice what I did? I just spaced once and then put the PIE paragraph. You're going to start your works cited on a separate page. To do that, you go to Layout and you want a page break and you get a new page. Notice how your header carries over. We're going to center our title again, and we're going to type Works Cited, space once, go back to left alignment, and then you start typing your paragraph, or your, citation. When you're done with that citation, you just click or hit return once. Okay? So hopefully that gives you a good idea of what I'm talking about. If you're confused, please let me know. And I'm sorry for my lapses in there. I'm just coming out of a fibromyalgia flare, so I'm having some trouble. So I apologize for the lapses. But please, you know how to get me. Bye-bye.